My wife was planning a wedding, with someone else, and she secretly booked me as the photographer. That sentence sounds insane, but it's the moment my stomach flipped and my hands went cold. Subscribe and tell me in the comments what you would do if you were in my shoes. I'm Mark, 33, hospital IT by day, weekend photo hobbyist. My wife Emma, 31, is a wedding planner with a knack for color palettes and crisis control. We were married 7 years. Routine, stable, boring in the best way. The first crack showed up as a flagged notification from our budgeting app while I was on night shift. A $1,250 venue deposit hit our joint card through a payment processor called Willow and Pine Events. Emma told me last week that one of her brides lost a vendor and needed a rush payment, so I filed it under business reimbursement and kept working. But at 2 a.m., curiosity dragged me to the invoice details. It wasn't billed to the bride. It was billed to eHeart, Emma's maiden name. The job notes said Evergreen Barn, rehearsal 6 p.m. Friday. I took a screenshot. I remembered Emma's sudden volunteer nights at a women's shelter on Fridays, the phone always on Do Not Disturb, the gentle kiss on my cheek before she left wearing soft makeup and a simple black dress that wasn't her volunteer uniform. I told myself I was paranoid. I told myself planners front money and get repaid. I told myself sleep would fix it. 2 hours later, I couldn't stop staring at her calendar in our shared iCloud, the same time blocked off as charity gala. Don't wait up. My thumb hovered over delete, like maybe I could erase the weird feeling. Then I noticed the attachment on the budget transaction, a contract PDF with a tiny watermark. I zoomed. In a neat, familiar font, it said, "Photographer, Mark L." Why would my name be on a contract I never signed? And why was my wife using her maiden name to book a venue? I got home at 7 a.m. and found Emma asleep on her side of the bed, messy bun, soft snores, the smell of lavender lotion. I stood there too long, reading the freckles on her shoulder like a map back to something safe. She stirred and mumbled, "Long night?" I said yes and tried to hide my voice shaking. She kissed my wrist. "I'll make coffee." When she went to the kitchen, I opened the file from the transaction again. Event date in 6 weeks. Evergreen Barn. Rehearsal Friday at 6. I checked my texts, no messages from Emma about any clients needing my photography. Emma is organized to a fault, the queen of labeled bins. I followed the coffee smell and watched her weigh beans on a digital scale. "You have a charity event Friday?" I asked. She said, too casual. "Don't wait up." When she reached for a mug, something metallic thumped inside the flour canister. She froze, then laughed. "I keep the teaspoon in there. It's dumb." She didn't open it. She set the mug down with 2 hands like she'd been taught how to hold it in a class. When she hopped in the shower, I went back to the kitchen under the hum of the vent. I lifted the flour lid. Under the scoop, under a folded paper towel, was a slim phone, matte case, no stickers. It lit without a passcode swipe, showing the time and a text banner preview, "Noah, Friday 6 is perfect. Can't wait." My chest hollowed out. The wallpaper was a stock photo of aspen trees. No apps on the home screen, everything tucked in one folder called Work. I put it back, wiped flour off my fingertip, and rinsed the sink with too much water. She came out wrapped in a towel, steam following. "You good?" she asked, narrowing her eyes just slightly, like a cat who noticed a moved chair. "Yeah," I said, swallowing coffee that had turned bitter. Who was Noah? And why did he have a rehearsal time with my wife's secret phone? I didn't sleep. I waited until Emma left for vendor meetings and then sat at the kitchen table with a legal pad, like I could turn chaos into a help desk ticket. I wrote 3 columns: money, time, people. Under money, $1,250 venue deposit, expensive dress dry cleaning last Tuesday, 2 Uber charges at midnight that ended near the north side, nowhere close to the shelter where she said she volunteered. Under time, Friday nights blocked off, random yoga retreats that didn't show up on her fitness app, a Sunday morning she left me at church claiming she had to meet a florist who was late. Under people, a new bridesmaid dress I found stuffed in the laundry labeled Kayla, a woman I'd never met. My day job teaches me that secrets live in logs. I opened our Wi-Fi admin panel. I saw a device name I didn't recognize, Hard iPhone 8. The second phone. It had connected at 1 a.m. and 6:45 a.m. I scrolled further and caught my breath. AirPlay had been used last night to cast from that phone to our living room TV for exactly 3 minutes. What had she cast? I turned on the TV and went to the photo app, hoping the cache still held something. It did, A 15-second screen recording, a Pinterest mood board with dusty rose bridesmaid dresses, a white suit jacket, twinkle lights strung across a barn beam, a dark-haired man laughing in a mirror while an older woman fixed his boutonniere. A caption flashed, "Evergreen Barn, no ND." I paused on his face, fuzzy but clear enough. He looked like the kind of guy who runs towards storms, not away. The mother, his, wore a navy dress with pearl buttons. I took another screenshot. I felt nauseous. In the Wi-Fi log, I could also see a Bluetooth car connection. Noah's Tacoma synced in our driveway at 11:12 p.m. last Friday. My driveway. That night I waited for the lamps in our bedroom to go off, the click of Emma's white noise machine, the slow rhythm of deep sleep. I slipped to the kitchen and lifted the flower lid again. The phone was heavier now, like it had absorbed every terrible thought I'd had that day. I used my IT brain. No passcode needed? That's sloppy. I turned on airplane mode. I opened messages. I scrolled. There was a group thread named Evergreen Crew, filled with vendors I recognized by style, hair and makeup, DJ, the barn coordinator. Another thread, just Noah, had photos my own eyes flinched at seeing, Emma's hand resting on his chest, close-cropped selfies in low light, the corner of a pillow I knew was not ours. A text, "Got the photographer yet?" Emma replied, "Yep. He's local. Affordable. Noah, send me his Insta." Emma sent my photography page. Noah replied with a thumbs up. My stomach lurched at the word affordable next to my face. Another thread made me sit down hard. Mom. Emma had named it K. K, you need to tell him before vows. Emma, he'll ruin it. K, he deserves to know. Emma, it's not legal, Mom. It's symbolic. K, that's worse. The phone buzzed in my palm even in airplane mode, a phantom vibration. I scrolled to a pinned note titled Checklist for Ian and Item 17, Keep Mark busy Friday. If he asks, Charity Night. Item 18, Send Mark the shot list. My name reduced to a task. My marriage reduced to logistics. The phone held one more thing, a calendar entry for Friday's rehearsal with a location link. I tapped it and memorized the route like it was a fire escape plan. I put the phone back, closed the flower lid, washed my hands, and crawled into bed. Emma rolled onto me and whispered, "You're stiff. Everything okay?" I said, "Sure," staring at the ceiling fan until the blades blurred. How do you sleep when the person beside you has scheduled your humiliation? On Thursday morning, Emma kissed my cheek and said, "I'm crashing at Qley's tomorrow after the gala, early setup Saturday." I nodded like husbands nod when their wives talk about peonies versus ranunculus. I packed my backpack for work, slipped an AirTag into the interior zip of Emma's big canvas tote, the one she always takes to volunteer nights, and prayed I wasn't becoming the antagonist. At lunch I watched the Find My app like a storm radar. At 5:15 p.m. Friday, the AirTag left our neighborhood and headed north, past the shelter, past the gym, toward a rural road dotted with cornfields. It stopped at a pin labeled Evergreen Barn. My throat closed. I drove. The sun slid behind the silo, painting everything soft and gold. I parked far out and walked in through a side path so the gravel wouldn't announce me. The barn was prettier than any Pinterest board, warm wood, strung bulbs, mason jars lined up like soldiers. Emma stood near a table with her clipboard, laughing with a tall man who could only be Noah. Her laugh was the same laugh she used when we picked out our couch. Familiarity weaponized. I ducked behind a stack of folding chairs and took a photo of the chalkboard near the entrance. Welcome to the rehearsal dinner, Emma and Noah. My wife's name. Not a client. Her. A woman in navy with pearl buttons adjusted Noah's collar. Qley fussed with place cards. I edged closer, cameras still slung around my neck from work like some cruel joke. Then I saw the printed program clipped to a board. Under vendors, my Instagram handle was listed. Photographer, Mark L. I was there, uninvited and expected. My wife had written me into her betrayal as another checkbox to tick. I didn't burst out. I didn't scream. I took a breath that felt like it scraped my ribs and watched as Emma lifted a champagne flute and said, "To us." What would I do with the truth when I was done collecting it? Friends and family, Emma said, the lights catching in her hair. This weekend is about gratitude. The way she held herself, professional but tender, was the posture I'd fallen for when she ran a charity drive our second year together. Noah kissed her forehead. I watched the muscles in his jaw, the way his hand rested on her waist as if it had always belonged there. I pulled back into shadow when the barn coordinator did a mic check. Qley passed out paper lanterns. I photographed everything, my camera on silent, because years of weddings had trained me to notice in between moments, the squeeze of a hand, the flash of nerves, the kid holding 2 cookies behind his back. Except this time the subject was my wife breaking me open in front of strangers who called her my girl and future Mrs. Collins. Collins. Noah's last name. A whiteboard in the corner listed the run of show. Processional practice. Vows rehearsal. Dessert. Fire pit. Under vows, a note, no legal signing, symbolic only. My head tilted. Not legal? The legality didn't make it less of a betrayal, but it added a twisted kind of calculation. She was planning a ceremony big enough to feel real and careful enough to dodge paperwork. Noah tapped his glass. I want to thank Emma for seeing me when I wasn't easy to see. People cheered. He told some story about driving through a snowstorm to pick up her favorite soup. Emma dabbed at her eyes like a bride. I wasn't sure whether to vomit or take more photos for the police later. The coordinator announced a quick walkthrough. Emma handed her champagne to Qley and scanned the room. For a second her gaze snagged on my hiding place. I felt it, like heat, like a spotlight. She frowned, almost puzzled, then turned away as my fingers trembled against the shutter. Was she about to recognize me in her own carefully arranged scene? I was halfway to leaving, halfway to exploding, when a little boy darted behind my stack of chairs and tripped over my foot. He looked up, saw my camera, and grinned. "You the photographer?" he whispered, like we were co-conspirators. Before I could answer, his mother laughed and said, "Mark? You made it. Emma said you might stop by to get the lay of the land." She stuck out a hand. "I'm Nina. I'm Noah's sister." My mouth formed shapes but no sound. Nina pointed at the chalkboard. "We love your style. It's candid but intentional." Emma had sold my work to her almost in-laws. My humiliation wore a customer service smile. Nina led me into the light. Emma turned and for a split second, something raw flashed across her face, shock, then a fast shudder of composure. She walked over, arms open, like we were old friends bumping into each other at Trader Joe's. "Babe," she said softly, too softly for anyone but me, "you didn't have to come." I stared at her hand hovering near my arm. My mouth finally worked. "I got the shot list," I said, lifting my camera. "Wouldn't want to miss anything important." Her jaw tightened, but her smile never cracked. "Everyone, this is Mark. He's shooting some candid rehearsal photos as a favor. He's incredible." Around us, people made appreciative noises. Noah gave me a man-to-man nod. "Dude, I love your page," he said. "Emma says you're affordable and fast." I wanted to break something, but the kid tugged Nina's dress and asked for a cookie. The coordinator started herding people into 2 lines. Emma leaned in. "Please," she whispered, her breath shaking. "Not here." The band tested a slow song. The white dress she'd wear tomorrow hung on a garment rack like a ghost watching us. I had no script for this, only the naked truth in my pocket and a room full of people expecting me to capture joy. Would I keep pretending, for them, for myself, for one more night? I kept breathing. Kept shooting. Muscle memory carried me while my brain melted. I caught their practice kiss, the ring exchange, no documents, the way Noah's mother clutched the tissue when he said Emma's name. Every click felt like a betrayal of myself, but each image was also a record, a ledger of what had been done to me. Then I saw it, the seating chart. It leaned against a barrel, hand-lettered in Emma's elegant script. Table 1, Noah's family. Table 2, Emma's family. Under vendors, my name again. And then, lower right, a small card reading reserved, Kay and Tom Hart. Emma's parents. They knew. Qley caught me reading. "It's complicated," she said under her breath. "Don't judge her." "I'm her husband," I said. The words hung there like smoke. Qley's eyes widened. Color drained from her face. "Mark," she started, but the coordinator called for the candle lighting practice and she was swept away. Emma watched me with a warning in her eyes that used to be a promise. Noah touched her back and she straightened, the way she always does before walking into a tense room. She'd built a life out of smoothing edges, and here I was, a jagged blade in the centerpiece. Outside, the fire pit sparked to life. Someone brought out s'mores. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Please don't. I'll explain tomorrow. Kay." Emma's mother. She had my number. They had rehearsed what to say if I showed up. They thought they could manage me like a stubborn vendor. I took one more photo. Emma laughing at something Noah whispered, eyes crinkling, shoulders relaxed. She looked happy. I used to know the exact expression she'd wear when she saw me across a crowded room. This wasn't it. I lowered the camera and felt something settle. I wasn't going to be managed. The question was how loud I would be when I stopped being quiet. I left without slamming a door. The night held its breath. I drove the long way home, past the diner where Emma and I ate pancakes at midnight the week we decided to move in together, past the small park where she said yes when I asked her to marry me on a bench with a ring tucked inside a paper cup. The world felt like a copy of itself, slightly off, colors duller. I parked in the dark and sat with the engine ticking as it cooled. My hands shook so hard I had to brace them on the steering wheel. I was the guy who kept networks humming and printers behaving. I fixed problems. But I had no patch for a wife planning a ceremony with someone else while drafting me into the vendor list. Inside the house, the flower canister waited like a prop. I didn't touch it. I went to my office, closed the door, and opened a new project on my computer. I imported every photo from the rehearsal into a folder labeled evidence. I added the screenshots of the contract, the Pinterest board, the Wi-Fi logs, the AirTag pings. I typed a list of names. Kay, Tom, Nina, the barn coordinator. I printed the seating chart image on matte paper. At 2 a.m., I wrote 3 emails, one to a local therapist, one to a lawyer whose website mentioned marital deception, and one to myself with the subject line, "You are not crazy." I scheduled them to send at 8 a.m. Then I sealed the camera card in an envelope and put it in our safe, right next to our marriage certificate. The house was too quiet. The clock said 3:07 when my phone lit with a new text. A number I didn't have saved. "We should talk." 9 a.m. at the diner on Maple. Noah. My heart hammered between my ribs like it wanted out. Why was Noah texting me? How did he get my number? And what exactly did he think we were going to talk about? I went. Of course I went. The diner smelled like burnt toast and comfort. Noah sat in a corner booth, hat in his hands, looking older than he did under the twinkle lights. He stood when I approached, as if we were about to shake hands before a tennis match. "Mark?" he asked. I nodded and slid in across from him. "I'm sorry," he said before the waitress even poured water. "This is insane." I let the silence push on his chest. He rubbed his face. "I didn't know you were." "You," he said. "Emma told me." He looked toward the window like he could fling himself through it. "She told me you were her landlord. That you're a friend who lets her crash sometimes when she's in the city for work. She said you're helping with photos because you owe her for a late rent deal." He met my eyes. "Yesterday, her mom called me," Kay said. "The truth." He swallowed hard. "I called off the legal paperwork weeks ago because something felt wrong. Emma said she wanted it symbolic first, legal later, after clearing up a situation. I thought she meant a bad breakup. I didn't think she meant," he gestured toward my ring. The waitress poured coffee. Neither of us touched it. Noah pulled out his phone and scrolled. "Messages," he said. "You can read them." I did. They were a normal love story if you didn't know the context, inside jokes, grocery lists, a dog they wanted someday. "She's different with me," he said. "Or maybe she's different with everyone because she doesn't know who she is." He dragged a hand over his jaw. "I'm telling my family this morning. The rehearsal today is off. I'm sorry you walked into that." I studied him. He wasn't the villain I wanted. That made it worse. "Why text me?" I asked. "Because I don't want to be another person who lies to you," he said. "And because I think Emma will try to spin this, and you deserve someone in the room who won't let her." He looked wrecked and determined. I recognized the shape of that feeling in myself. I paid for the coffee we didn't drink. When we stood, Noah said, "I'll back you up." I didn't know what back me up would look like, but for the first time in days, I felt less alone. Was I about to light my whole life on fire with witnesses applauding? By noon, my inbox chimed. The lawyer offered a consult at 3 p.m. The therapist had a slot next Tuesday. I saved both like life preservers. Emma texted around 1, "Let's talk tonight? I'll be late." I didn't answer. I changed into black slacks and a dress shirt, photographer camouflage, and drove back to Evergreen Barn. The coordinator looked frazzled, clipboard crammed with notes. Kay intercepted me at the door. "Mark," she said, voice low, tired. I begged her to stop this. She wore the same pearl buttons but they didn't seem to shine as much. We thought if it wasn't legal, maybe it wouldn't hurt so many people. Her eyes glazed. That was delusional. "Why didn't you call me?" I asked. Kay's face twisted. "Emma is my daughter." She shrugged. "Love makes cowards of us." She nodded toward the aisle. Everyone's here. They deserve truth. I stepped into the center of the room and the hum faded. Noah stood near the front with his father and sister. Emma, in a simple white dress, held a bouquet like a shield. She saw me and went pale, then straightened her spine. "Mark," she said. "We can talk privately." "No," I said, surprising myself with how steady it came out. I clicked my camera on and lifted the seating chart photo on the venue's projector. Gasps rippled like wind through wheat. I spoke clearly. "My name is Mark. I am Emma's husband. We have been married for 7 years. I found out about this through a deposit she made using her maiden name, a second phone she hid in a flower canister, and a rehearsal where I was listed as the photographer." Emma's bouquet trembled. Someone dropped a spoon. Nina gripped Noah's hand, knuckles white. Emma whispered, "It's not legal," as if that were balm for a burn. Noah stepped forward to stand next to me. "It doesn't have to be legal to be wrong," he said. His voice carried. "Emma told me Mark was her landlord. That was a lie." He looked at me. "I'm sorry." He looked at his family. "We're not doing this." Emma's mask cracked. "I was going to tell you," she said, "to both of us, to all of us. After." Her words tangled. I took one breath and then another. I nodded to the coordinator, who cut the mic. The lights hummed louder in the silence. Kay closed her eyes like a woman at a graveside. "Where do you bury a lie this big?" Mayhem looks different in barn lighting. It's quiet at first, like the moment before glass hits tile. Then it's noise, voices, a chair scraping, the DJ muttering as he kills the playlist. Nina moved fast, gathering her kids. Noah's father folded into himself like his ribs hurt. Emma stood very still, and then she didn't. She lunged toward me, words spilling. "Mark, I thought we were on pause. You said we needed space." She turned to the room. "We were having problems. We were in counseling," I said. "We agreed to date each other again. We did not agree to marry strangers in barns." She flinched. "It wasn't legal," she said again, then hated herself for saying it again. "I wanted something beautiful. She swallowed. "I wanted to feel chosen." The confession hung there, not absolving anything. I didn't yell. I'm not a yeller. I held up my hands, palms empty. "You built a second life using my name, my work, our money. You asked me to immortalize it." I turned to the guests, who were now in clusters, sympathy, shock, anger. "If anyone here was told I'm her landlord, that is not true. If anyone paid deposits, you should ask for receipts." Kay touched Emma's shoulder. Emma recoiled like it burned. "Mom, don't." Kay's mouth wobbled. "I'm sorry." Emma's father, Tom, had his jaw clenched so tight a vein throbbed in his temple. Noah addressed the room. "There will be no ceremony today. I apologize for the deception that brought us here." He faced Emma again. "I loved you," he said, gentle, past tense. "I won't be part of this anymore." A glass shattered near the dessert table, a perfect symbol none of us needed. A child cried. Outside, wind pushed through the trees like applause we didn't deserve. I packed my camera into its case, each click of a latch a decision. Was I done being part of her stage directions? My lawyer said phrases that felt like a foreign language made of sharp edges: dissipation of marital assets, alienation of affection, not in our state, constructive fraud, separation agreement. We scheduled filings. He told me to stop sleeping in the same house, to document everything, to talk to no one I didn't trust. I moved into my friend Eric's spare room. I took only what fit in my Civic and left the couch we picked, the mugs we painted at that pottery place, the photos I'd shot of sunsets she liked to call cotton candy skies. Emma texted and called. At midnight, she left a voicemail I listened to twice. "I'm so sorry," she said, voice hoarse. "I don't know why I break good things. Please talk to me." She was crying and it still felt like choreography. Noah sent me copies of their messages, with dates. They started 5 months ago at a vendor expo. Emma had told him she was separated, waiting on paperwork. She had never told him about me in present tense. The deceit was a gradient she kept shading. I took the evidence folder to my therapist. Her office had soft chairs and a plant that looked like it was thriving even though it lived in fluorescent light. I told her I felt split. One part of me wanted to air everything online in a long post that would scorch the earth, another part wanted to curl into silence and disappear. "Both parts are trying to protect you," she said. "But only one will help you heal." I chose something in between. I posted a short notice in a private local wedding vendors group, factual, no names, cautioning planners against overbooking and personal entanglements with clients. The comments were a wildfire of stories that made my skin crawl. Some people knew. Some suspected. Some just wanted drama. I closed the app. 2 days later, my bank flagged 3 more charges. Emma had reimbursed herself for work expenses. My lawyer's assistant called. "We're freezing the joint card," she said. "You're okay?" Was I? Emma finally agreed to meet in a neutral place, our pastor's small office where we did premarital counseling years ago and where the couch remembered the shape of our younger selves. She came in looking smaller. No makeup, hair in a loose ponytail, sweater sleeves pulled over her hands like she needed the fabric to hold her together. "I'm not here to be convinced," I said, setting my phone to record with both of our consent. "I'm here to understand." She nodded. "I built my identity on fixing things for other people," she began. "Making perfect days. When our marriage felt heavy, I tried to build a day for myself. It got out of control. I liked how I felt when I was with him. Like I could be the version of me I sold to brides." She winced. "That sounds monstrous." "It sounds honest," I said. "Honesty is what you kept in the drawer next to the flower." She cried quietly. "I used your name because you were safe," she said. "You always show up. You always capture the moment. I made you the photographer because a twisted part of me wanted you there, to witness." "What? My own fairy tale?" She shook her head. "I hate who I was." The pastor asked gentle questions. Emma didn't ask me to stay. She didn't ask me to come home. She said, "I will sign whatever you need me to sign." She said, "I will pay back what I spent." She said, "I'm going to rehab for love addiction and compulsive lying," then winced at the label, as if naming the thing made it too real to hold. On my way out, my phone buzzed. A notification from Instagram. Someone had tagged my photography page in a story, "Mark is a pro and a gentleman." It was Nina. A picture of a country road with the caption, "Dodged a storm." I stood in the parking lot, phone in my palm like a warm stone. Was this what mercy looked like? Small, ordinary, not flashy, and still enough to keep you moving? It's been 6 months. The paperwork is final. The house is sold. I kept my camera. I kept my sanity. I started saying yes to more shoots, not because I wanted to turn my pain into an aesthetic, but because freezing moments sometimes helps you believe life can be held and examined and still kept. Noah moved across town. We crossed paths once at a coffee shop. We didn't talk about her. We talked about dogs and fall light and how the world keeps offering small, decent things. Emma sent one letter through my lawyer. It was short. She's in her program. She's sorry. She hopes I find joy bigger than the barn. I hope she finds honesty she can live with. Kay mailed me a check for the deposit she'd helped Emma cover and a note that said, "We failed you. I am sorry." I sent it back with "Please keep it. Give it to someone who needs a start." Not forgiveness, not exactly. Just refusing to keep holding a weight that wasn't mine anymore. Sometimes I dream of the barn. It's empty. The lights are off. I walk through and collect the place cards and curl them into my fist until they're soft and then I let them go. When I wake up, the room is quiet and the future feels like a hallway with doors I haven't opened yet. Was I wrong for what I did? Who do you think is the real villain here? I don't know. I only know that the truth is loud when you've been lied to a long time, and sometimes the bravest thing isn't to set the whole building on fire. Sometimes the bravest thing is to step outside, breathe cold air, and not go back in. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and stay tuned for the next drama.